As long as the K-pop industry has existed, there have been bands with acronymic names. Now what is an acronym and what is an initialism? Both acronyms and initialisms are names in which each letter stands for a different word. The difference is that an acronym is pronounced like a word and an initialism is pronounced by each letter. We don't say the FBI, we say FBI, and we don't say the NASA, we say NASA. K-pop groups don't really follow that rule. For example, two of the earliest big groups were H.O.T. and G.O.D. Their names are pronounced H.O.T. and G.O.D. even though they're actually acronyms. You know, Hot and God. I'm here to list for you several K-pop groups' names that are either acronyms or initialisms and what they stand for. And I'm also going to rate how acceptable they are. Let's start with the good ones that are acceptable. CN Blue. CN Blue stands for Code Name Blue. It doesn't really mean anything, but it doesn't sound that bad either way. NRG stands for New Radiancy Group. I kind of like both names, and I think it's kind of weird that they have two pretty good names. They only needed one. BoA. Now BoA is actually her real name, like it's pronounced that way, but they turned it into kind of an acronym, like a backronym, which means it wasn't an acronym, but then they kind of turned it into one because of the way they spell the name. And so they said it stands for Beat of Angel. That's not so bad, it's fairly cool. SG Wannabe. It stands for Simon and Garfunkel Wannabe. And I think that's pretty cool because they're paying tribute to a group they like in their name. MC The Max. It stands for Moonchild The Max. It's not particularly great, but it's not bad. It's a perfectly decent name. Now we're going to get to some of the names that sound kind of iffy or could be misinterpreted or just don't really need to be so overcomplicated as acronyms or initialisms. FT Island. 5 Treasure Island. Does that mean that there are 5 members and they're like on one island and they're all treasures? I don't want to think about it. LPG. Long Pretty Girls. Sorry guys, but legs are long, girls are not long. You don't say, hey, that girl's pretty long. GOD. Groove Overdose. Overdose has 2 words, which is kind of Konglishy. It would have been pretty acceptable if it was one word. HOT. High Five of Teenagers. What happened to the F, you know? High five is a hyphenated word. Yeah, you can't just ignore that F. It doesn't sound creepy as one of the later names, but I don't really get a good vibe from it. Tracks. TRAX stands for Typhoon Rose Attack on Xmas. The reason behind this is that each of those words are the group members' names. Okay, that's also fairly ridiculous, but to be fair, they were formed by Yoshiki of X Japan, so you can say it's kind of a Japanese thing. Now we're gonna get into the bad ones, the ones that simply don't work or don't make any sense, or they're just awkward or give you this kind of uneasy feeling. DJ DOC. DOC stands for Dream of Children, and that is wrong in almost every way you can imagine. Baby Vox. It stands for Baby Voices of Expression with an X. And if they were actually baby voices, that would be really irritating. Finkel. It stands for Fin Killing Liberty. They want fin to represent the Italian word for end. In other words, they want people to stop killing liberty, whatever that means. It's like there are multiple layers for this name and every single one is wrong. Milk. And it stands for Made in Lovely Kin. What is kin supposed to mean here? Family? Because it's not really a common word to use. I thought it was referring to kin cider, like the soda. FX. The F stands for flower, and the X stands for 2X chromosomes, because they're girls. As for how you solve that equation, you don't solve it, you just fail that course. 21. You would have think that 21 would make sense if the girls debuted when they were 21 years old, but then you think it also wouldn't make sense a year later. But no, it has a fairly ridiculous meaning. It stands for New Evolution of the 21st Century, after you rearrange all the letters and give yourself a headache. What's funny with Beast is that before they debuted, they had this name with the 2 in it, and then they changed it to the normal spelling, but both spellings are different acronyms. The Beast with the 2, which is really unpronounceable, stands for Boys to Search for Top. The second Beast, the properly spelled acronym, stands for Boys of the East Standing Tall. You're not supposed to stand, you're supposed to dance. Stop standing. M Black. Music Boys Live in absolute quality. I don't really know if it's supposed to be live or live, but it's not really better either way. Quality is not an absolute objective thing. You're not gonna convince anyone it is. UKISS. UKISS stands for Ubiquitous Korean International Idol Superstar. Do you get points for putting a GRE word in the name of your group? Do you get points for putting an extra word in the name of your group? Do you get points for having one of the longest names if you spell it out? SS501. SS stands for Superstar Singer, and 501 stands for 5 members united as one forever. I don't know where that forever came from, but it's there. That didn't cover every single K-pop group that has had an acronym or initialism for the name, but I think it's enough. Please let it be enough.